Hi there. It's time for a confession. I have a bad habit of not labeling my packages of food before sticking them into cold storage. After preparing a dish of chicken or pork or beef, there are always extra pieces of meat left over, and I just throw them into Ziplock bags, stick them in the freezer, and forget about them. These big hunks of chicken, pork, and ground beef have sat in the freezer, turning into rock-solid, ice-encrusted blocks for, I don't know, weeks, months. And so it's time to clean these things out of the freezer, throw them all into a big cast iron pot, and make them into a stew. And that's how you make Mulligan stew, by throwing everything together in a big pot and stewing it up. This is a good excuse to bring out the new big stove enameled cast iron pot and give it a run for the money. Alright, we have this thing, which I'm pretty sure is ground beef. So we're off to a good start here. And I believe this is the bone of a pork shoulder. I think this is another bone. I think. There we go, we can rearrange these. On the other hand, this is chicken. Sure looks like a whole chicken, but those are chicken leg quarters. I think this is a pork chop. Yeah, these things have been way in the back of the freezer since, oh, I don't know, Christmas? We're not even going to thaw these out. Instead, we're just going to slow cook them all at a low temperature for several hours until they fall apart. We add some salt, pepper, and garlic, and that's it. We don't even need to add more liquid to the pot because there will be plenty when the meat thaws out. Then we set the temperature to 260 degrees and come back later today. Let's see what difference 9 hours made. Oh yeah, this meat is definitely well done. Some of it I could just tear into right now. Wow. This is an enameled pot, so no metal utensils. And we shred all the meat and remove the bones. Definitely plenty of liquid too. Notice I did not have to use more water or anything. This fat, nice fat from the pork. Here's one pork bone. Look how easily the meat is just coming off the bone. And here's another pork bone. And once it's all shredded, we cover the pot to keep it warm and prepare the additional ingredients for the stew. Here's where we throw everything but the kitchen sink into this stew, and the only reason we don't use the kitchen sink is it probably won't fit. You can use your favorite vegetables and spices, and there's no right or wrong with what to use here. Mulligan stew is literally what they call pot luck, where everyone contributes what they have and mix it all together into the stew, and the result will certainly be delicious. We probably don't even need to grind up these spices, but I did because I wanted ground fennel in particular. Here we go. Now we add in salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder to the stew. Then we add in our ground spices and mix them all together. This is the fennel, rosemary, and thyme. Some ground coriander. And we're still not done because we want this stew to have a lot of flavor. A dash of Worcestershire sauce. Next, we throw in different kinds of beans. Here we're using green beans, lima beans, garbanzo beans, and top it off with lots of corn. And don't even drain the beans. Be sure to use the liquid as well so we don't waste anything. And finally, we add in our chopped onions, celery, carrots, and mix in all the potatoes. Add enough chicken broth to cover the stew, though here we really didn't need very much. This is a big pot, but we only needed a quart of chicken broth. And at last, our stew is ready to go into the oven. However, here we had a different problem. This huge pot full of stew probably weighed over 40 pounds or more, and I was worried the oven rack would collapse from all that weight. So I had to use a heavy-duty rack I'd made a few years ago from steel gas pipe. And at last, the stew goes into the oven to slow cook overnight. After slow cooking all day and all night, the Mulligan stew is ready at last. And the best I can say is, it was definitely worth the wait. There's more than enough stew here to feed your entire family and friends too, and all of the meat, spices, and vegetables come together to give this a taste that makes it a stew you won't forget. Especially when we serve it with homemade cast iron cornbread and our favorite barbecue sauce on the side. One of my least favorite childhood memories was having to eat a bowl of beef stew that was full of huge hunks of leathery meat and bland, tasteless hunks of vegetables. My intention here was to create something as far away from that as possible. As they say with Mulligan stew or Brunswick stew or clean out the fridge night, it never turns out the same way twice. And that's part of the fun of it. Not only do we have a big pot of stew to share, we also have a lot of free space in the freezer now to fill up with even more food. And that's especially good because, like it or not, the holidays are coming. Thank you for watching.